To begin, pick up your embroidery hoop and loosen the screw at the top until you can separate the inner and outer rings. Lay the outer ring aside and place the inner ring on a flat surface. Center your fabric over the inner ring and place the outer ring back over top. Push down to secure the two. Now, tighten the screw, but not quite all the way. This will leave you a little room to tug the fabric nice and snug all the way around and completely center it. Making sure your fabric is nice and tight makes it much easier to stitch. Now we can finish tightening the screw and we're ready to stitch. Embroidery floss is made of 6 tiny strands of thread grouped together. We can use it just like this, or separate it into smaller groups. To separate, fan the edge of the thread until you can grasp half the strands in one hand and half in the other. Then slowly pull your hands away from each other and the thread will separate. Going slowly is the key to avoiding tangles. Also, don't try to work with too long a length of thread at once. Keeping it to 20 inches or less makes this process much easier. To easily thread the needle, begin by pinching the thread as flat as possible. Moistening it can help with this. Hold the thread so that just the tip is showing between your thumb and forefinger, and slide the needle onto the thread. The key here is to bring the needle to the thread, not the other way around. Again, holding the thread so that just the tip is showing past your fingers, and sliding the needle onto the thread. And you can rest your hands together to create a pivot point, which helps you control as you slide the needle over the thread. Leave a tail of 2 to 3 inches so that your thread does not pull right out of the needle as you start to stitch. Before we can begin to stitch, we'll need to tie a knot at the end of our thread so that it doesn't pull right through the fabric when we begin. I'm going to show you 3 ways to do this. The first is a basic granny knot. Nothing fancy, but it does the trick. The second method is called the needle knot. Begin by placing the thread behind the needle and wrapping it around once, twice, then pinching, pushing the needle through, and pulling it all the way until you have a knot at the end. Once again, place the needle over the thread, pinch it, wrap the thread around once, twice, pinch between your thumb and forefinger, then pull the needle through, keeping a tight grip on the thread with your left hand, and pull it all the way to the end, and you're left with a lovely knot. Method 3 is called the finger knot. It involves wrapping the thread around your index finger, rolling toward the base of your thumb, pinching, and pulling. And I'll show that again more slowly. Again, getting a firm grip on the thread with your thumb and middle finger. Then wrapping the thread around your index finger once and pinching it between your index finger and your thumb. Next, we'll roll the index finger toward the base of the thumb. Bring your middle finger down to pinch the thread, and then pull with your opposite hand so that the thread tightens up and becomes a knot. I like this method because it's the fastest, but it does take a bit of practice. Backstitch is one of the simplest but most useful stitches. To begin, bring the needle up from behind the fabric, and don't forget to tie a knot at the end of your thread so it doesn't pull right through. Place your needle back down again to create one stitch. And now we'll bring the needle up again, leaving a gap so that we can loop back to the previous stitch. The stitch length is up to you depending on your project. In this case, I'm working with about 1 centimeter. Again, we'll leave a gap, come up again, and bring the needle down exactly where the last stitch was. You can see I'm holding the hoop so that my fingers on the back side are helping me to guide the needle into place. Did you know I've created a collection of practice patterns which you can download for free at my website? Just visit iheartstitchart.com to access the entire library of free patterns and download one today. When we've finished a line of stitching, we need to anchor our thread. The simplest way to do this is to take a loop or two around a nearby stitch on the back side, creating a simple knot as you do so. Trim the thread about 1 inch away from the knot. If you trim it too close to the knot, it can easily unravel. Another simple but extremely useful stitch is running stitch. Begin by bringing the needle up from the back side of the fabric and down again to create one stitch. We'll leave a gap and come up again, moving forward to create one stitch. You'll notice we're leaving a gap in between each stitch, so in the end the finished stitch looks much like a dotted line. As you work, it's a good idea to check and make sure your fabric is still nice and tight. We can also use this stitch to fill in areas, very much like sprinkles on a cupcake. Again, you can make the stitch length as long or as short as you like, depending on what suits your project. There are two ways to do chain stitch, regular and reverse. I'll show you regular first, so we'll start at the end of our line and bring our needle up, then down again beside but not in the same hole. We're creating a loop, so use your thumb to prevent the thread from pulling all the way through. Then bring your needle up one stitch length away, catching it through the loop as you do, and this will create our first chain. Down again, not in the same hole but just beside, and bringing your needle up so that you catch it in the loop of thread. It's very important not to put the needle back down in the exact same hole because the thread will pull right through. So I find it useful to use my thumb to hold the loop of thread while I stitch so that it doesn't pull through and makes it easier for me to catch it with my needle. When we've finished a line of stitching, we simply take one stitch at the top of the last chain to anchor it. To do reverse chain stitch, we'll start at the top of our line of stitching and take one stitch to anchor our first chain. Move down one stitch length away, and this time we'll keep our needle flat on top of the fabric as we slide it underneath the stitch we just made. Pull it all the way through and replace the needle in the same hole. And there's our first chain. Moving down one stitch length. Again, we'll keep our needle flat on top of the fabric as we pull it through the chain we just made and come down again in the same hole. To help you practice these stitches, I've created a line of fun, simple patterns which you can download for free at my website, iheartstitchart.com. To create a French knot, bring the needle up from behind the fabric and grasp the thread firmly with the fingers of the same hand that is holding your hoop. You'll notice I adjust my grip on the hoop to do this, so the fingers on the back side are holding the hoop and the fingers on the front side are free to grasp the thread. Place the needle across the thread and wrap the thread twice around the needle. Then, place the tip of the needle back down near to the point where your thread exited and push it through, pulling it all the way through. Again, bring the needle up, hold the thread firmly, wrap it twice, place the point of the needle back down and pull it through, keeping a firm grip on the thread as long as you can. Holding the thread firmly is the key to achieving a nice, tight French knot. Lazy Daisy is a combination of chain stitch and French knot. To begin, we'll create one chain stitch and anchor it at the top, and this will become our first petal. Bring the needle back to the center point and create a second chain stitch to create another petal. Continue in this way until you have the desired number of petals. Remember, you can download free patterns and more at my website, iheartstitchart.com. When you're finished, add a French knot at the center of the daisy to finish it off. Satin stitch is commonly used to fill in areas, very much like coloring. We'll begin by bringing our needle up and placing it back down on the opposite side of our shape. Then bring the needle back up on the same side you started, as close to the previous stitch as possible, and back down again on the opposite side. Trying to keep your stitches straight and very close to each other is the key to creating a beautiful satin stitch. It's tempting to work back and forth zigzag style instead of looping around each time. And certainly this uses much less thread. However, it's much harder to get your stitches straight and even, so I recommend mastering it this way first. When you're finished satin stitching your shape, you may outline the shape in backstitch if you like. This is optional, but creates a nice, neat finish.